Hello and welcome back to the house in Fata Morgana, a Requiem for Innocence. I did go back and checked a comment that I received under the first game, which was kind of explaining the suggested play order, which was doing the main game with the true ending, then the backstage episode, which we did, and then go to a Requiem for Innocence, do the main episode, do the sub-episodes, and then there would be another backstage episode. So we do have a bit still to go through, it seems. I also went back and tried to check for the Maria thing, because I had a vague memory of that only. But turns out it really was only Maria finding the writing, recognizing it as her handwriting, and then I kept wondering, okay, when do we get to Maria's backstory? We did get a backstory in this, I guess, even though it's not quite as satisfying, especially the ending. But it does explain why she was so focused on revenge when we first met her, so it all kind of came together. Yeah. Okay, I did try to quickly Google what Acento dele means, but it depends which language this is supposed to be. So I didn't dive any further because, of course, it started giving me links to this game, and I didn't want to get spoiled, so let's just get into Acento dele. I think we made pretty good friends, don't you? Those were his last words before disappearing into the darkness. Their time together was brief, and they knew nearly nothing of each other, so could they in fact be called friends at all? Oh, hello! We're going there. Welcome back, Didier. I've missed you.
Hello there, Michel. What a pleasant welcome this is.
Indeed. I did not really expect to see Michel in this at all. Interesting.
You didn't have to come all the way out here to meet me, though.
I haven't seen you in so long. And waiting inside is so dreary.
What a wonderful sister I've been blessed with. You'd best be careful, though. The sun is quite strong today. Mother would throw a fit if she knew you were out here in this weather.
Do not worry. I heard from a servant you would be back around now, so I haven't been out terribly long. And I know you're not one to be tardy either, Didier. I took all the necessary precautions.
Well, curses. Now I'll have to be absolutely certain nothing delays my next return.
Yes, indeed you will.
Well, since you're here, would you like to ride back with me?
On your horse? I would love to, but I came on horseback as well. She's tied to the tree over there.
Unlike your brothers, your horse is smart enough to follow you back.
All right, then I suppose I shall. How was your expedition, Didier?
More of the usual. Just patrols, really. No engagement to speak of.
Quiet is never a bad thing.
I'm not sure if I'd say never.
Do you think something might happen?
No. Nothing you need concern yourself with, at least.
If you say so. Oh yes, Mother said she had something important to tell you, and to see her as soon as you arrived.
Now that I do not like the sound of.
I can hardly blame you. Mother has something important to tell you are the last words anyone wants to hear.
You've gotten feisty now, haven't you?
Don't tell her I said that.
I wouldn't dream of selling out my beautiful baby sister. In fact, I beg you not to say anything of the sort to her either. She can be a bit easy to set off.
If anyone, I think Georges needs that warning most.
You're on fire today, Michelle. And there she is. The world-renowned Castle Boulanger and our lovely home.
I'm not a child anymore, Didier. I know our estate is not nearly as large or impressive as a castle.
You used to love when I called it that.
I also used to not be 13.
13 is still plenty a child. Now hold on tight, we're going to gallop the rest of the way. Yeah.
Wait, slow down, Didier.
Try not to fall.
Good day, Sir Didier.
Thank you. Everyone looks well. Where is my father?
Lord Antonin is out on personal business. He should be returning tomorrow.
Thanks. Guess I just missed him. Well then, I should see what mother... What was that noise?
Ah, that would be Georges.
Oh, I didn't realize he was going to be home.
Shall we check in on him? No. This won't do at all. It needs more wild innovation and fiery passion and solemn beauty matched with a squeeze of delicate eroticism that doesn't undermine the impact of the piece as a whole. It has to be like a good kick to the marbles.
Has he finally lost his marbles?
Holy heck. Well, look who it is. I didn't know you were back, Dee. And you know, it's uncouth to barge in on someone without knocking. He knocked several times and called out to you through the door. I must say though, Georges, is it much more uncouth to take out your frustration? It is much more uncouth to take out your frustration on inanimate objects. Oh, you're there too, Michelle. I couldn't see you in the shadow of this hulking barbarian. You really are a teeny tiny little gal, aren't you? Mother will not be pleased when she sees the mess you've made of the room. Oh, my dear, dear Michelle. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. True art is only born in the fires of pandemonium. Is that so? You could at least pretend to care.
So... Would you care to explain this pandemonium?
Oh, you wanna know? You wanna know all about the masterpiece buried in this wellspring of inspiration? You'll never be able to turn back once you know, but if you're really sure, I can give you all the juicy deets.
I don't care that much, no. Shall we see what Mother needs to talk about, Michelle?
Yes, let's. Hey, wait! Have you no hearts, you Philistines? You're supposed to grab me by the shoulders and beg to hear what all the fuss is about.
If it'll make you stop shouting, fine. Give me the short version.
So much for brotherly love. So the royal family is planning construction on a new chateau in the city, and guess who the king himself asked to do all the paintings for it? Why, moi, of course. the great artiste Georges Boulanger.
Is that so?
What is wrong with you two? This is huge. It's huger than huge.
I would wager His Majesty did not, in fact, come within 1,000 meters of you.
Life is no fun if you limit yourself to only the truth. I somehow doubt you're in charge of all the art either.
So, in other words, there's almost no truth to your claims.
Hey, I really was commissioned to do a piece for the new chateau.
And this disaster area is all you have to show for it.
Yep, and I don't know what to do. It's a chance for me to make it into the big leagues. I've got to paint something that'll go down in history as one of the great works of our time. Perhaps it would be better if you didn't put as much pressure on yourself. You do much better work when you're relaxed. You're brilliant, Michelle. Let's go out on the town and let loose, just the three of us. That's exactly what I need right now.
I've barely had time to sit down since I got back.
Sometimes I think there might be no hope for the three of you. Not even a word to your dear mother?
Good day, Mother. My apologies. I meant to see you as soon as I returned, but...
Crap. Mom's gonna flip her lid. We'd better get out of here before she brings her wrath down on us, Michelle. But... Georges, I heard every last word.
What big ears you have.
Care to repeat that?
Repeat what, my beautiful mother?
I swear, young man. So, how did your expedition go, Didier? Did you run into any trouble?
No, it proceeded without issue, thank you. Everyone returned safely by the grace of God.
That's wonderful to hear. I prayed for you every day, and it seems he heeded me. I want you to know I've quite missed you, even if Georges and Michel robbed me of the chance to tell you first. I'm deeply relieved to have you back in perfect health.
There is no need to be dramatic, Mother. I was never in any danger of not returning. Nonetheless, I too am.
And there's no need for you to be so stiff around your mother.
Sorry. It's good to be home, Mom.
That's more like it. Welcome home, my darling boy.
Yeesh, just look at him go. A grown man fawning over his mother like a little boy. Make sure you give him crap about it later, Michelle.
But...
You really need to learn to whisper more quietly.
Wonder who you inherited those ears from?
I swear you... So, Mother, Michelle tells me you have something important you want to speak with me about.
Ah, yes, that I do. I'm sure you'd like to rest after your trip, but would you come to my chambers for a bit first?
Certainly.
Ooh, what's this? Can I come too?
This is my business. Why should you be allowed to stick your nose into it?
Because it sounds like fun. And maybe it'll help give my muse a nice kick in the rump. It's not a private matter, so I don't mind. In fact, maybe it would be better if you were there too, Georges. Heck yeah! You're coming along too, Michelle? What? Why would I? Oh, what am I going to do with you three? It's so weird to see this family again, and on good terms as well, like, for now, I guess. Wow. What do you think?
Of the painting? It's a fine piece, clearly not made by Georges.
Wow. I would have done 10 times better. Who's the hack responsible for this rubbish? Quiet, boy. Does Georges have a disease where he'll die if he isn't running his mouth every waking moment or something? Not the painting itself, the girl in the painting.
She's pretty, I suppose.
Do you like her?
In what sense, Mother? Where are you going with this?
This girl is the daughter of the Castagnier estate to the south of us. Or what she will look like a few years from now.
In a few years. Then she's still a child.
She is, yes, and her family is trying to complete arrangements for a marriage as early as possible.
Her marriage.
The Castagners are a respectable family with lots of land. We have plenty to gain from this arrangement. All you need to do is say,
Mother. As I have told you on several occasions, my body and soul...
I'm sorry, there's a siren going off in the background. Okay, I hope they're done.
Mother, as I have told you on several occasions, my body and soul belong to the Church. I will neither succeed father nor take a wife.
And you're firm in your decision?
Yes, I'm sorry to disappoint you.
That's very disappointing indeed. I would be so much more comfortable with you taking over the house. Well, what about you, Georges? Do you have any interest in her? I don't know. Not really feeling it. Now, Georges, you do realize that Didier not becoming head means that you will be, right? So you can't make a decision like this, which will affect the future of both of our houses for generations, because you're not feeling it. That's easy for you to say, Ma, but I can't change what appeals to me. It'll all be for nothing if we couldn't hit it off and never had any kids. I mean, he's not wrong. And tell me, what is there not to like about her? She's a beautiful young lady. She's pretty, sure, but I'm getting nasty vibes from that picture. Looks like a real sourpuss. I want someone more, you know, cheery, if I'm gonna have to spend the rest of my life with her. I wouldn't go as far as him, but there is something about her that doesn't sit right with me. I'm not sure how to put it into words, though. She just looks that way in the painting. I'm certain you'll find her to be a lovely girl when you meet her. How can you be so sure? You haven't even seen her yourself. Anyway, not interested, and that's that. It's such a wonderful offer, too. Once I'm sworn in as official court artist, I'll be up to my ears in marriage offers. Something even better'll come along, I promise. I'm afraid with your attitude, this may be the last offer we ever see. Don't you worry, we've got ourselves a proud knight of the order, the most sought-after artist in the land, and a brilliant, beautiful princess. If that's not a recipe for success, I don't know what is. Oh, Georges. Is something troubling you, Michel? Well, oh no, nothing. My mind was wandering, that's all. See, look what you did, Mom. You upset Michel by being such a worrywart. Throwing me to the wolves, are you, my boy? Oh, dear Michel, I'm just being cautious about our future. I'm not as worried as I may have sounded. I have the 3 most wonderful children in the world. I couldn't be more blessed. We're strong, and together we're even stronger. I have no doubt in my mind we'll thrive and grow for generations to come. Yeah. We'll all be together, forever. If only. For a brief moment after waking, seeing only darkness, I forgot where I was. As my eyes adjusted and the world faded into view, a faint sense of disappointment swelled up in my breast. That was over a decade ago, a life I no longer had. And, in fact, a life I couldn't be certain I ever had. For all I knew, my mind could have fabricated the entire thing. But in short order, the wave of sentimentality receded. A few years earlier, that yearning for bygone days would leave my heart in tatters, but now I had grown largely numb to it. This was the life I knew best. I wasn't a 13-year-old child anymore. Nor was I a girl. Nor was I a member of the Boulanger family. I was a demon most frightful, exiled to a remote mansion. Ascendo dele, his dark throne. Okay, that's kind of one of the translations I saw that was like his seat in Portuguese, I think. Kill the accursed thing. Those were the first words uttered by the witch upon my discovering the being lying in a heap outside the front door. The witch had haunted me ever since the day I resurrected her at the top of the mansion's observation tower a few years earlier. At first, her constant whispering in my ear had been insufferable, driving me to my wits' end. I did everything I could think of to deny her existence and push her out of my life. But that too had passed. I had been drained of all will to fight against her, or frankly, feel anything at all. No joy, no anger, no frustration, no sorrow. Perhaps that could be said to mean she had defeated me, but in retrospect, the witch causing me to encase my heart in stone had consequently kept me from being miserable every time I received a letter from my mother. It made me think getting worked up over some stupid words and scraps of paper was a waste of time and energy. So while I wasn't at the point of gleefully cozying up to her, it was true that her presence had made my life easier. I can't stand the sight of it. It's utterly dreadful. The witch wanted me to kill them. But instead, I crouched down to get a better look. They seemed to be dead already. It appeared someone had died on my doorstep. and because of the way they were clothed, I couldn't make anything out beyond that at a distance. It's faint, but they're still breathing. Look, you can see their chest moving. I'm surprised she noticed. I can barely tell from up close. I reached my hand out to roll them over, at which point the witch gave me an exaggerated sigh. I wouldn't recommend touching them. They're deceased. That's why they look like a human raisin. That was indeed one way to describe them. What had first come to mind for me, though, was something I had read in a book about how desert cultures would mummify their dead. The person on the ground looked like what I imagined a mummy did, though I was under the impression mummification was performed in order to preserve the bodies of high-ranking individuals. Which is to say, you weren't likely to find one collapsed on your doorstep. Ignoring Morgana's warning, I put my hand on their arm. It twitched, and they let out a groan. Just a swift stab through the heart, and they won't have to suffer any longer. The person didn't seem to have enough strength to sit up. Barely enough to hold on to the last vestiges of life. Their fingers continued to twitch, but it didn't seem deliberate. The tall grass in which they were lying seemed to want to swallow them up. Do it, dear. Do it, my dear. Send that poor soul to heaven by whatever means you please. Or perhaps they'll end up in hell. They're not long for this world with or without my help. And who's going to have to deal with the rotting corpse in a few weeks if you just leave them there? Next month's delivery boy, presumably. Imagine the look on his face when he finds it. Imagine what he'll tell your family when he returns. It would make everyone's lives easier if you just killed them here. Bury them somewhere nearby, let them nourish the earth with their flesh. If there's any nourishment left to be squeezed from them, that is. Or you could try luring some animals here. There wouldn't be a trace of gore to clean up if you let a couple of wolves at them. And they'd get a nice meal out of it, so everyone wins. I can't imagine they'd find much to enjoy on this pile of bones. How cold. You have no room to talk. You're clearly enjoying yourself. My, what would ever make you think that? There's been nothing to entertain you recently. I certainly haven't been talking much, and nothing of note has happened. I can tell you've been bored. A few quiet weeks hardly counts as boredom compared to the years I spent in slumber. If you say so. Brushing the witch's distractions aside, I put my hand back on the vagrant's arm and flipped them over so I could get a better look. They were much lighter than I had expected. Their arm was little more than flesh and bone, and that flesh felt like leather. I couldn't guess their age or even gender. They were dressed in unadorned brown robes and a cowl. One thing stood out about their dress, though. Their mask. And when I removed the mask, I was greeted with torn, wrinkled flesh and eyes so sunken it was disquieting. I wasn't sure what I saw beneath it could even be called a face. Bandages covered the head from the nose down, and what hid beneath them was in even worse condition. I couldn't tell where their nose ended and their cheeks began, and their lips had curled back into their mouth, turning it into a gaping gash. Even as close as I was, I could barely make out the sound of their breathing. They almost certainly wouldn't survive much longer. Good heavens! As I thought the witch might find some compassion in her heart for the dying vagrant. Get rid of that filthy thing! I was immediately proven wrong. Her tone of voice was like that of someone who had found rotten food in her pantry while looking for something to eat. As I said, they're diseased. You should stay away unless you want to end up like that. Your leg's too frail to hold you up. Your body withered and your eyes sunken, worthless orbs. It's highly infectious. I largely ignored the witch's whisperings. She liked toying with me, so I couldn't take what she said at face value. She was more than happy to lie or exaggerate for the sake of tormenting me. There was no guarantee their ailment was contagious at all. So just hurry and get rid of. Are you listening to me? I hoisted the vagrant onto my back. A simple task even for me, perhaps the least fit man in the world. They were smaller than me, but not child-sized. It was like I was carrying an empty sack of skin. This will give you something to stave off your boredom. I told you, I am not bored. Heavens, I never took you for the kind of raving lunatic who helps strangers. I wasn't bringing them in out of the goodness of my heart. They simply piqued my curiosity. There was something oddly amusing about the whole twisted situation. A witch, a demon child, and a living mummy. And what better place to gather them all together than a cursed mansion? I also think that some part of me wanted to see and feel death up close. Morbid curiosity, I see. I mean, he's got nothing else to do out there, so sure. What's going on? I can't see a thing. Have my eyes finally started going? And I was so close to that mansion. But I guess this is the end of the line for me. Wait, no, I still have my vision? It's just dark as hell. Where in the world am I? I'm on a bed? Good morning. And who the hell is that? That's what I'm thinking about you. What's going on? I don't... But maybe... Can you not speak? No, I can talk, but it hurts. I was just a little startled. By what? The angel that's come to meet me at the gates. He doesn't seem to have taken that one well. The man sitting there was a curious specimen, and yeah, I know, pot meat kettle. It appeared almost as if he was part of the surrounding darkness, an ethereal being that might vanish when I next blinked. Not human, but merely something taking its form. Though the more I looked at him, the more it seemed like, rather than him being a part of the darkness instead radiated from him. Which is probably where the angel bit had come from. This isn't the afterlife. No, I guess it isn't. If this were heaven, I wouldn't feel like death, and there'd be at least a dozen half-naked ladies hanging over me. But I hurt like hell, so I must still be alive. Reality's a bitch, huh? That said, though, I felt like I'd get on a lot better with a stony-faced angel like him than what they usually advertised. The sack of bones in the bed had a voice like dry leaves scraping against one another. While carrying them to the room, I noticed several of their joints seemed to bend in ways they shouldn't, so I thought they might be on the older side. But upon closer inspection, that didn't appear to be the case. The way they talk makes them sound young too. I'm going to guess a man? Early 20s, maybe? If you're not an angel, then you must be the witch. I beg your pardon. I'm just kidding. Don't bite my head off. You don't look anything like a witch. He's not as far off the mark as he thinks. But he doesn't need to know about my childhood. So, hey, would you mind sparing a bit of water? My throat hurts like 12 kinds of hell. And I'm sure you'd appreciate being able to understand me better. There's some right there. Huh? Oh, you already got some for me. Thanks, I can't unbend my damn arm. Do you mind grabbing that for me? Did no one ever teach you how to say please? Coming from you, Michelle? But sure. Oh, lighten up, would ya? Show a dying fella some pity. Maybe he wouldn't have died if I had left him out there. He's much feistier than I expected. In fact, he's nothing at all like I imagined. When he was still lying half dead on the ground outside my door, there was a mystique about him. As a mummy, he was interesting, which gave him inherent value. But now that he was awake and talking, he was normal, human. I'm trying to remember if we knew what happened to Georges, except for that, he was the painting guy in the end. Because I don't know if we're going to get any new characters here or... Almost excessively so. I reluctantly picked up the goblet and handed it to him, watching as he pulled down the wrappings covering his mouth to drink. It seemed like he wanted to down the whole thing in one go, but judging from the groans I heard, his body wasn't cooperating. A few years earlier, I may have sympathized with him, but not now. All I felt now was curiosity. What was the sick man doing in front of my mansion? What brings you here? Can't you at least let me drink in peace? Let me tell you, man, I'm in no shape to be multitasking. It takes all my attention just to drink a glass of water. Plus, it's darker than hell in here. I can barely see what I'm doing. You're free to leave if you're not happy here. Once I'm through with this water and I've had a chance to rest, and maybe a complimentary glass of wine on top of that to raise my spirits, I'll be right out. Rather brazen for a guest. Oh, I'm a guest now, am I?
I thought I was just a subject for your observation. Hit the nail on the head. And are you implying that means you should have free reign here? Sure am. You stop worrying about a lot of things when you're on the verge of death. What's the worst that happens if I piss you off? You kill me? All that means is I lose a few days. No real risk in acting like I own the place. Not a bad deal if I do say so myself. You certainly are lively and talkative for someone on the verge of death. I did just have a hefty helping of the elixir of life. I sighed to myself. I'd taken in quite the high-maintenance specimen, it seemed. There wasn't going to be much worth observing when he was full of such vitality and his lips never stopped flapping. He was exactly the kind of person I could least stand to be around. I could practically hear the witch saying, "See, what did I tell you? You should have just listened to me and not wasted your time and energy." Which only made the whole thing that much worse. But curiously, I couldn't feel her presence, even though she was seemingly always around. Maybe she was afraid she might catch whatever disease this man had. Can spirits even get sick? Never mind her. I have more important things to deal with. Like how to get this man out of my house. Anyway, you were asking what I was doing here. Well, I was looking for something. And that search... Back up a sec. What is this place anyway? Sure doesn't look like a tiny little one-man shack. Not that I can see much in this dark, but these furnishings don't look cheap. It's a mansion. Yours? Half of it, roughly. So what, you live with someone? In a sense. Huh. Now, I don't want to sound rude, but... Oh, we're well past rude at this point. Go on. Already making friends. So, I'm curious. There wouldn't happen to be any rumors about this place, would there? Such as? Like, say, a cursed witch dwells within its halls. Oh, for the love of... That's what you were searching for? Hell yeah, I'll take that sigh as a yes. Excellent. Fan-freaking-tastic. I was heading in the right direction. Let me stay here for a little, please. Are you out of your mind? I have a favor to ask the witch. That's the whole reason I came here. I don't know what you've heard, but the witch isn't one to go around doing people favors. Whatever your wish is, it won't be granted here. Hey, you never know. There's a first time for everything. And I doubt this is it. Why is he so fixated on the witch anyway? The witch of the legend was said to be cursed. She was spoken of around these parts only in whispers, and people stayed away from the mansion for fear of provoking her wrath. Her curse had destroyed an entire city, it was said. I had no way of knowing whether that much was true or not, but I did know that the witch was real. I couldn't figure out how someone could hear the rumors about the witch and decide I'm going to ask her for a favor. It's beyond ludicrous. Well, now that that's out of the way, thanks for the hospitality, buddy. Stop right there. I never said you could stay. Anything I could do to change that? Not a thing. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do this, but you've left me no choice. I'm staying with or without your permission. What the hell makes you think you have the right... I'll happily comply with whatever the head honcho here decides. But remember, you said the mansion was only half yours. So until there's a unanimous agreement to boot me from everyone with a stake in the property, I'm sticking around. And I bet Morgana is kind of going to change her mind here, isn't she? This little weasel. I won't just be a straight up leech though, don't you worry. If you need help with anything, chores, whatever, just give me a shout. But to do that, I guess you need to know what to shout, huh? The name's Imion. Pleasure to meet you. Hey now, giving me the silent treatment? Is that how you're gonna play this? Flat pretending I don't exist? No. My mind just froze up for a moment. It looks like he's serious about staying. Which is a problem even setting aside the witch situation. The more contact I have with anyone, the greater risk there is that word of my survival finds its way out. No, what? That said, he isn't long for this world. This figure won't last, that much is certain. In fact, it might be smarter to keep an eye on him. Make sure he's dead before he has a chance to tell anyone about me. Hello? Need help finding a way out of your thoughts, buddy? Death will find you long before the witch does, I'm sure. Yeesh, that's the first thing that comes out of your mouth. I've braced myself for that outcome already. But following the logic of that zinger, it sounds like you're giving your approval of my stay. Resigning myself to it may be a better way to put it. It's all the same to me. So tell me, what's your name anyway? Unless you want me to stick with calling you an angel, or the witch's right hand, that is. I am neither of those things, thank you very much. So, what should I call ya? Michelle. Michelle, derived from the name of the Archangel Michael. What was that about you not being an angel again? I haven't wanted to strangle someone this badly in a long time. Michelle can't get a rest. And what exactly do you think you're doing? The witch spoke almost as soon as I stepped into my chambers. I could hear her voice right in my ear, as if she was standing beside me. Which was especially jarring, as she had been completely absent during my conversation with Imion. She seemed to know what we had talked about, though, so I assumed she had been spectating from a safe distance. What do you mean? You're hardly the type to take in poor wandering souls on a whim. You're right, I should have asked you first. This is your house after all. Half mine, you mean? I should be thankful you let me have half of it. But you are the master of this house. And I... Go on. I was never master. So I have no say in who you choose to let stay here. But you will heckle me about it. Of course. I need my entertainment too. So what are you going to do about, whatever his name was? Imion. Right, that. I was hoping you would chase that dreadful thing out. He says he has business with you. Oh, does he now? So you weren't listening in on the whole thing?
I'd be more than happy to hover over you every waking moment if that's what you'd prefer.
I'd rather you didn't.
As you can see, I respect your personal space. It wouldn't hurt you to show a bit of gratitude sometimes. So, what does that man want with me?
Not a clue. All he said is he wanted to ask the witch a favor.
A favor?
Indeed.
What a farce.
I agree. You would never grant the wish of her.
No, not that. That you happily passed on a stranger's request, but vehemently refused to make your own of me. The offer still stands, my dear. Just say the word, and I'll put a curse on your entire family.
I've told you repeatedly that I'm not going to ask you to do that.
Obstinate as ever, I see.
Anyway, I never asked you to grant his wish, only conveyed to you that he had one. He'll be dead in short order regardless.
A week or two at most. How tragic for him, betting the last remnants of his life on the legend of the cursed witch, only to be dealt a pair of heartless jokers. In all likelihood, he just wants me to cure whatever disease he has.
Why would a witch who deals in curses cure diseases anyway?
Now, it's not polite to judge someone by their appearance, my dear.
Are you saying you can do it?
Maybe, maybe not. Regardless, there is but one thing the two of us can do for him. Watch as the poor wretch's life slips away, alone and in the dark.
Great fun way to entertain yourself, sure. Christ, this is hell. It shouldn't be this exhausting to just walk down the hall. I'd sure love to get a little more light in here. Might make moving around easier. Nah, this is fine. The light means I don't have to worry about how monstrous I look. This face is like a curse in itself. Okay, so the only places I haven't seen yet are this room and Michelle's room. And he made it very clear he didn't want me anywhere near his room, so... in practice, that makes this the last one. Here goes. Damn. A huge stained glass window set at the back of the chamber. The archangel within casted a faint light across the room. The light almost burned my eyes, which were still acclimated to the darkness. It felt almost like I was in the presence of an actual divine being. So we've got a guy named after an angel, and a stained glass window of an archangel. Whoever called this place cursed didn't look very hard, I guess. This is closer to a damn temple, if anything. As I approached the source of the light, the shape of the room came into view. Rows of pews, a pulpit, and a cross. Looked like I was right on the money. I was in a chapel. Or the remains of one, anyway. The wooden pews had rotted to the point of uselessness, and the floor was peeling all over the place. It was like an abandoned shrine to a saint, hidden away in the dark corners of the mansion. Fascinating. The worst of it's been mended, but you can still see marks on the wall where it looks like it's been struck with a sword or something. Did a battle take place here? There's splotches of black on the floor. Bloodstains, maybe? There's something on the pulpit too. Ah, my mask. I figured he threw it out. So Michel isn't all cold and heartless after all. Or maybe he just didn't feel like going outside. Who knows? Either way, I'll happily take it back. He's already seen my face, so it doesn't change much. But I feel better covering it up either way. My disease was highly stigmatized and said to be just as infectious. Not only was it obvious from my appearance, I was also required to carry around a bell to alert others to my presence. I lost that while wandering through the forest, but up until then, whenever I went into a town or city, I had to ring the bell as I walked. And surprise, surprise, it invited all sorts of dirty looks and people scrambling to get away from me. Churches would sometimes offer me aid, but that was a once-in-a-blue-moon occurrence. Effectively, I'd been through nothing but hell up until now. I hadn't done a damn thing, and yet they treated me like a murderer. In fact, I'd almost bet a criminal didn't get half the crap I did. Just thinking about it killed my mood. He doesn't hesitate to touch me, though. Does he not know what I have is contagious or something? I mean, it makes my life easier at least. And speak of the goddamn devil. Hey there, Michel. It's been, what, a couple hours? Okay, I wasn't sure if we'd get an actual visual. Okay, hello. Interesting. I found Imian in the chapel. He had put his mask back on, despite the fact I had already seen what it hid. I couldn't imagine whatever he gained from wearing it was worth the obstructed vision, but surely he had his reasons. One hell of an impressive window you've got here. I had a pretty good guess where he was going with that train of thought, and I was entirely disinterested in humoring it. He would start off with something about how beautiful and awe-inspiring it was, mention the Archangel, then try to lead into, "You could make a friggin' fortune of this." I beg your pardon? Glass doesn't come cheap, especially not the colored stuff. I was thinking, if you found the right buyer, you could be rolling in dough. Does he have any idea just how sacrilegious that is? Is it, really? Let me guess, you're thinking, does he have any idea how blasphemous that is? And now you're thinking, can this fella read my mind? I am not. You should say what's on your mind. Otherwise, I'll just have to keep saying it for you. Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not particularly talkative. I'm not saying you have to yap on for days like me. Well, what you said was indeed blasphemous. I do not disagree with the sentiment. Oh, really? It's just chunks of glass arranged into shapes. Bingo. There's no actual angel there, just man's depiction of one. Who are you anyway? Well, that sure came out of nowhere. And you want me to spill my guts without doing the same for me? My apologies. I have not had the chance to hold a conversation in some time. I see. and you are not obliged to say anything if you do not wish to. I would not answer if you asked me the same. Sounds like we're on the same page then. The more we share, the more uncomfortable it's gonna make it for everyone, so let's keep things the way they are. A nice, cozy distance. I may be curious as all get out about what the hell you're doing out here all alone in the middle of Frickwell, but I won't pry. Alright, I'll tell you what I can. I'm a nomad. Before I got sick, I traveled all across the lands. Had me a nice lute I'd strum as I trotted from place to place, singing songs and pretending I was a troubadour. You were a traveler. I could tell stories of my exploits for days on end if you want to hear them. I'll pass. Thank you. Your eyes tell me you're lying, buddy. I'd rather you listen to what I said. Well, story's over dinner then. Sounds like a date. Now, I've got a little question for you, if you don't mind. Not about where you came from or anything, I promise. Yes? Why didn't you say anything about my face? I assumed you were going to ask about the witch, not me. Ought not to be curious, you know. Everyone's grossed out by it. He makes a fair point. Even Morgana was taken aback by the sight. I can imagine he would appear monstrous to someone who's led a relatively normal life. And he's probably been subjected to less than shareable treatment for it. Which makes me wonder, how is he not drained and jaded by now? I don't understand how he can be so spirited. I have seen the kind of hardship that can be brought onto someone by their appearance. So what you're saying is, it's nothing new to you? Correct. I did think it a little unusual, but nothing more. I understand your ailment is contagious. Well, you knew? Why did you help me then? Why didn't you hesitate to touch me? You carried me into the mansion. You handed me water, all the while knowing you could be infected. I couldn't figure out how to honestly explain my actions. Part of it was me deliberately acting against Morgana's wishes, frustrated by her repeated insistence that I kill him. But the aura of death that hung over him was the biggest factor. There was something indescribably alluring about it. All I'll say is, I would have left you if you were in good health. So it was pity. You've got nothing to gain from helping me. I don't have any money, and I'm definitely not a hot babe. I have no interest in money or women. And to be clear, I didn't bring you in out of the goodness of my heart either. When you said you thought you were a subject for my observation, you were correct. You're here predominantly because I wanted to observe a withered, half-dead mummy of a man. A mummy, huh? Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm just an ordinary guy. Unfortunately so. And here I thought you were only observing me because you didn't know about my disease. Never would have guessed it was the other way around. God, you really are one of the most bizarre fellas I have ever met. I was just going to not say anything, keep it to myself. Use this as a chance to stretch my wings and enjoy not just being the unclean for once. Didn't much care either way if you ended up catching it. So The witch has declined your request to speak with her. Not even gonna let me finish, huh? I'll take that as a no apologies necessary then. Well, shit. You have no reason to remain here. I left the bar off the front door for you. The witch was my last resort. I saw who knows how many doctors. Not a one could do a thing. Hell, as soon as they saw me, the assholes tried to rob me blind with fees. It'll cost extra because they're putting themselves at risk, they claim. So I traveled to other cities, towns, villages. If docs weren't gonna do anything, maybe I'd have better luck with regional remedies. Everything from herbal stuff to straight up hocus pocus. No effect, any of it. I have no interest in an apology or his life story. So why haven't I turned and left yet? Why am I standing here, listening to him talk? All that left for me to turn to was God and the devil. But I figured God would just say, accept your lot in life. Shrug his shoulders and tell me to die in a ditch. But I wanted to live. Even looking like that? Damn right. So what, do you believe that if you tough it out, one day your valiant efforts will pay off? That there's light at the end of the tunnel? Because that's all fairy tale nonsense. You're right. The real world doesn't work like that. We just tell ourselves it does because it makes it easier to get through the day. But the fact of it is, life's a big old swamp and no one's got a map. One wrong step and it swallows you whole, like a game designed by a goddamn 5-year-old. The odds are stacked against you, but like hell I'm gonna go down without a fight. I've got nothing to show for it yet, which is exactly why I'm not ready to kick the bucket. You never will have anything to show for it either. Your desire to make something of your life will only serve to drag you deeper into the depths. The more you tell yourself you can, the greater your pain when you realize you can't. Sounds a hell of a lot like you're speaking from experience, buddy. As I said, the witch will not be seeing you. You would do best to look elsewhere to fulfill your dying wishes. You never know, bud. Tomorrow's another day. Maybe she'll be in a more accommodating mood then. But I'm sure not gonna let one measly no get the better of me. The witch, Morgana, is a sadistic woman. If she reveals herself to you, it will only be to torture and kill you. Can't say death much scares me these days. It's knocking on my door regardless. And you can never say for sure. Every woman's got at least 2 masks she switches between. Maybe she'll pick a friendlier one for me than she does for you. You're a damn fool if you believe that. And she's a witch. Even if she would hear you out, she doesn't have the power to heal you. Ruin and destruction is her singular desire. I have to ask, all you want from me is to watch me die, right? So what do you have to gain from warning me about the witch? Doesn't worrying about me run counter to your own wishes? I am hardly worried about you. Could have fooled me. I'm simply making a statement of fact. You would only be wasting your time trying to see the witch. I haven't seen the proof, so I'm not convinced it's as much of a fact as you claim. Which means this conversation's going exactly nowhere. Do as you please. I won't try to chase you out anymore, but don't come crying to me when my words prove true. Much obliged, buddy. That's one less hurdle to trip over on my way to making a huge ass out of myself. I would like you to promise me one thing, though. Sure thing. I leave the bar off the front door, so when the time comes, make sure you save enough energy to get yourself outside before you die. I don't want to have to clean up a mess. You're a real treat, buddy. This is such a weird situation. Even for them. After our little chat, Michelle gave me permission to make use of anything in the mansion. It still came with the condition that I stayed away from his room and didn't pry into his personal life, but that seemed fair enough, considering I didn't want him digging into mine either. In fact, I couldn't have asked for a better arrangement. After so long wandering, with food a constant uncertainty, having a roof over my head and meals at my convenience was heaven on earth. He had dried foods and smoked meats in the cellar, as well as bread, which, last I checked, didn't store for very long. But he never seemed to leave the house, so I did recall hearing some rumors on my way here. Whispers of a shadowy carriage occasionally seen heading toward the cursed mansion. No one knew for sure what it carried, but there was a general consensus. Offerings to the witch. Fresh sacrifices to keep her appeased. Which was obvious nonsense. Not one was sending shipments of virgins to offer to the witch. No one. A basket of bread and other supplies now, maybe. Rumors of a way of taking on a life of their own, but that was so patently absurd I couldn't believe anyone bought it. That still left me with scores of questions, though. Who was bringing Michelle the supplies, and for what purpose? Why did he never leave? Was he imprisoned here for some iniquity? But obviously, I had no intention of seeking out the answers. If we spent long enough together, I would probably find out eventually. But I knew damn well I didn't have that kind of time left. What point was there to lifting the curtains on someone else's life, when chances were I was going to croak not long after? I had no intention of repeating Pandora's mistake. If I was going to spend my last days here, living with him, I wasn't going to get anywhere near that jar and risk making waves. I couldn't say whether or not that was the best strategy. But regardless, I made it through our first 2 weeks together well enough. And in those 2 weeks, it seemed like the two of us were talking more and more. I was standing before the stained glass window. It had become routine for me to spend a few hours of each far too long day in the mansion's chapel. I wasn't so naive as to think the angel would grant me relief, but I did sorta enjoy being in the presence of something so magnificent and undeniably beyond my reach. It was impressive in the same way as any other massively expensive piece of art. Now that I think about it, I never really appreciated art when I was younger. Couldn't even tell the difference between what was good and bad. Maybe because I was just a kid, or because there was nothing there to appreciate. Emion, Oh, hey, sorry. Lost in my thoughts. What's the occasion? You almost never initiate. I need your help with something. Damn, is the sky gonna fall today? So, what can I do for you? I'm going to cover up the stained glass window. You're gonna... what? It seemed, unsurprisingly, that was the last thing he had expected to come out of my mouth. And the incredulity was obvious even in his raspy old man's voice. I could easily imagine the expression he might be making beneath the mask, if he'd had a face left to make it with. Would asking for a reason count as prying? No particular reason. I simply dislike the sight of it. Well, that's a damn shame. I rather enjoyed my time with it. I seem to recall you saying it was nothing more than colored glass. In a spiritual sense, sure. But do I look like I'm praying to it? No, I'm admiring the craftsmanship. It's one hell of a piece. I see. No, I've pretty much got the thing memorized by now, so sure, let me give you a hand. Thank you. Follow me. I gave Imian a quick glance and started off down the hall. I walked at a relaxed pace, because as much as he tried to hide it, he was visibly more sluggish than 2 weeks prior. Even breathing seemed to be an endeavor for him. As I walked, I made sure he was keeping up by the sound of his footsteps, but never once did I turn back to look. Facing away, I said, "You didn't have to come along." "Excuse me, you're the one who asked me to." Don't you think it a bit inconsiderate to ask someone in your condition to do hard physical labor? No one with any common decency would do that. Well, I guess that puts you in the clear. I'm just joking. Don't bite my head off. I didn't say anything. I wouldn't say I think it's inconsiderate, personally. In fact, I really appreciate you not giving me special treatment, of any kind. You don't go easy on me because I'm sick, and you don't put me through the ringer for it either. I prefer it that way, us both on level ground. If you say so. I know I just said I appreciate you not going easy on me, but this is a bit much, don't you think? And holy hell, this room's 10 times mustier than the rest of the joint. I've got it. This is a really freaking roundabout way of murder, isn't it? I told you that you didn't have to help. The 2 of us were looking down on an old weathered bundle of cloth that had been in the mansion longer than even I had. It was a single piece, large enough to cover the entire stained glass window, and thick enough to block out its light. Fabric was far heavier than most people realized, and something this thick and tightly woven was going to weigh a ton. I knew I wouldn't be able to carry it to the chapel by myself. You're free to head back to your room. I'll do it. I'm not backing out now. Besides, there's not a chance in hell you're getting this up there alone. It's not that long of a walk from here to the chapel, I think. Alright, let's do this. Hold up. I need a breather. Hey, don't drop it without warning me, asshole. And quit trying to act like you're hot shit. I can see you're just as winded as me. What do you know? I'm perfectly fine. Someone is out of shape. You're the last person I want to hear that from. Hey now, at least I have an excuse. You're in perfect freaking health. And look at me, I'm half dead here. Before I got sick, I could run for 24 hours straight, no problem. Alright, let's get going. Are you deaf? Finally, we made it. I seriously thought I would die before we got here. That's one for the gravestone. Died carrying a bundle of fabric. Not trying to hide it anymore, are ya? Not a word. Oh god, I'm laughing and coughing. Where is this coming from? And please don't cough and laugh at the same time. It's disturbing. I don't know, it's freaking hilarious. What is? You don't think this is the funniest damn thing in the world? Two grown-ass men carrying a giant sheet through the dark, grinding themselves to the bone so they don't have to look at a pretty stained glass window. Like, for real, are you hearing that? It's the stupidest thing. I cannot say I find it amusing myself. Well, you're lost, buddy. Let's finish this up then, shall we? I assume the pulpit isn't nailed down, so we can use that to get some height. He seems to be enjoying himself. I can't imagine enjoying much of anything in that kind of condition. I'm not sure if I'll ever understand him. The way he's being so upbeat is kind of bringing me down. Why should him acting cheerful have any effect on me? I buried that emotion long ago. What are you doing here exactly? Huh? Haven't we been over this? I want to ask the witch. You're no fool. I don't need to tell you that the witch isn't real. For the past 2 weeks, I let Emian explore the house as he pleased. He'd likely seen everything but my chambers by now. It should have been obvious there was no third person living here. I was the only one who could hear the witch's voice. I was the only one who could feel her presence. All the servants my family had sent over the years were proof of that. She may have existed for me, but from his perspective, there was no meaningful difference between that and her not existing at all. Remember what you said in the storeroom? There's not a chance in hell you're getting this up there alone. If you still believe the witch was real, if you still believe there was a third person living in this mansion, you wouldn't have said that. What do you want from this place? Somewhere to die? Do you want to make this your final resting place? Someone's feeling talkative today. This isn't funny. It's comfortable here. There's a warmth to the darkness.
it doesn't reject me for being impure.
Impure?
That's what everyone says about me. I have no say in the matter. I have an impure disease, so that makes me impure. I think it's story time. What do you say? This time, we'll go into a little more detail. My life was set. I had dozens of friends and a wonderful, loving family. I didn't bother with the family business, instead spending my days wandering. But on one of my trips, I got sick, and I got scared. So I rushed back home, wanting nothing more than to see my family and friends again. But when I got there, no one recognized me as me. They called me a demon impersonating their Emion.
A demon. He's saying the Bollinger family has no need for a demon child, that you're a mark of shame on our name. So he's going to have you executed.
I came to the consensus that the real Emion was still off traveling. They wouldn't accept me for who I was, just because I didn't look like what they thought I should.
What does that have to do with my question?
Basically, what I'm saying is, there's not many people who are willing to see the truth.
The truth.
And I am who I say I am. That I'm Emion, not some evil doppelganger. The only person who sees me as an ordinary fella is you, Michelle.
I do not agree with Father's decision. I do not want to lose you. I don't think you're a demon child. Don't misconstrue apathy for.
I don't care why. All that matters is that you do. You see me for who I am, and that's the most amazing feeling.
I haven't done anything to warrant that reaction. And if there's one thing I can tell you, it's that it's foolish to rely on anyone for emotional support. Don't blindly put your trust in me, and don't expect anything out of me. Please.
Like I said, I don't care why.
As I stood there in silence, Imion's laugh echoed off the chapel's walls. He then climbed onto the pulpit, which was probably brutal on his joints, though he didn't show it, crossed his legs and looked up at the glass angel. His arms were thin as twigs, his voice raspy as an old man's, his hair devoid of all sheen, his entire body deteriorating. Even the most callous of men would cringe at the piteous sight. Yet he sat there with his head held high, a smug smirk on his face. For a split second, the thought crossed my mind that if the name Michel didn't belong to me, but to him instead, he would have been able to just laugh off that painting. And as soon as I caught myself, I froze.
Back to your question, what do you think? Why do I want to stay here even though the witch doesn't exist?
I knew what he wanted me to say, and I knew that I couldn't. I hadn't done a single thing to deserve that from him. What he felt was disproportionate to reality.
Silent treatment again? You figured it out though. I know you have. There's your answer. If I were even half what I used to be, I'd love to drag you out of this house, kicking and screaming. Travel far and wide together. Find the place you feel more at home than anywhere else in the world.
Be nice, wouldn't it? Leave me out of your fantasies. He could only think that way because he'd led such a cushy life. That may have come crashing down when he got sick, but only someone who had been well off would ever think there was hope to be found outside. And on top of that, he was simple and honest enough to admit it. I'm just jealous of him. That's all this is. Take a seat up here on the pulpit with me. Feels like you're shoving your ass right in God's face. I wish I'd tried this sooner. It's freaking incredible. It really is. Between the two of us, a guy who probably couldn't overpower a rabbit and someone on death's damn doorstep, covering up the stained glass window was a grueling task. That day marked a turning point in our relationship, though. It was an insignificant change, something I doubted anyone but us would even be able to notice, but it wasn't the degree that mattered. There was a real shift in the air between us. Michel didn't seem to be so persistently wary of me anymore, and I started to feel more relaxed in his presence. I didn't have to prove anything to anyone here, in part because he didn't pry into my personal life, but also because my time was so limited, I didn't have any reason to keep up a front anymore. The biggest factor, though, was that no one here knew who I was. From time to time, Emian and I would have supper together. I wasn't going out of my way to spend time with him, but I didn't particularly mind it either. I had no reason to. We stayed out of each other's business, and we both knew it was a temporary arrangement. As his disease worsened, his once exasperating vigor started to seem more and more obviously like a facade. When he spoke, it was like I could hear the remnants of his fading soul spill out with each bravely syllable. It was getting difficult to make out what he said at all. But still he persisted to act as though nothing was wrong around. So I acted in kind, making sure not to touch on his deteriorating condition. You know, we never did get around to talking about my adventures. Nobody's stopping you. You could just be honest and say you want to hear them. I can see it in your eyes. You love adventure stories. Not only that, you want to go on some yourself. That could not be further from the truth. Alright, let's see. How about the story of the battle in the Northlands? About 5 years back, I was traveling the lands far north. Heavy snowfall covered the land in the winter, stretching as far as the eyes can see, and with the arrival of spring it would melt and rejuvenate the earth. It was a lot colder up north than it is down here, but the lands were fertile nonetheless. And naturally, where there's fertile land, there's people fighting over it. 2 countries, one to the east and one to the west, vied for control over this particular area. I watched the battle from the safety of a nearby hill. The theater for this battle was a large plain, a sea situated to the north. Separating the two was a river flowing south from the sea. It wasn't a very deep river, though. Both horses and infantry could cross it, albeit with some difficulty. The Western Army attacked first. They outnumbered and were better equipped than the Eastern Army. Their soldiers well trained and commanders sharp. Planning and organizing allowed them to cross the river with ease. And once they were on the other side, they stormed the Eastern Army. Now, how do you suppose the battle went? It wouldn't make for a very good story if the Western Army simply went on to defeat the Eastern Army. Because you're asking, I presume the Eastern Army had something up their sleeve. Jeez, you're the worst kind of person to tell a story to, buddy. Play along at least, would ya? I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm not a child listening to a bedtime story. Well, you're right about one thing. I would have framed things differently if the Western Army was gonna win. Maybe gone into detail about how advanced their equipment was, how strong their soldiers were, name-dropped a commander or two. But no, the Western Army did not conquer the Eastern Army. In fact, they were both defeated. Oh? Yep, thanks to the intervention of a third force. Now, where do you suppose this mysterious third force came from? It was the Danes. You've got to be kidding me. You suck at this. Given what you described, two sides divided by a river flowing from a sea to the north. The larger Western Army crossing over to take the Eastern Army by surprise, the logical conclusion is that the third force would travel down the aforementioned river. Neither side had ships able to sail such shallow waters, so they didn't anticipate an attack from the river. The Danes to the north, however, have numerous ships capable of exactly that. That's why they're feared as the Lords of the Sea. Yep, that's exactly right. Thanks for skipping all the good parts and going straight to the answer. A fleet of ships with dragon heads on both ends sailed down the river after the Western Army crossed, quickly making land. The Danes are fearsome warriors, and big boys at that. They attacked both armies from behind, taking them out in no time. And the land fell into the hands of the invaders from the north. Then, once it was all over, I hauled ass right the hell out of there. I have only read of the Danes' fearsome prowess in books. For you to witness an actual ambush. Jealous? See, what I tell you? You're all about these adventure stories. I am not. Well, I sure am. The Danes, they can travel both shallow waters and the open sea. The whole world is at their fingertips. Everyone just thinks they're savages. They don't see their potential. I wonder what's out there, across the seas. What wondrous world awaits beyond those waters. I bet it's heaven on earth out there. A land unlike anything you can find traveling on foot. So long as man infests the surface, you will find no heaven on this earth. Why do I feel like I have to agree with Michelle here? I know you weren't a people person, but hot damn, you're worse than I ever imagined. You can't make it through life on misanthropy and cynicism alone. Someone needs to teach you how to dream, buddy. Dreams are just that. Fantasies never to be realized. Dreams are freedom. Doesn't matter if you're sick or a sinner, infirm or exiled. You can go anywhere inside your head. You have complete and absolute freedom in your dreams. All empty hopes and dreams do is erode the spirit. I gave up on mine for a reason. If I were in good health, I could have asked the Danes to take me on one of their longships. Bring me somewhere far, far away from here. A place where everyone's equal. No poor and no rich to oppress them. No one being judged for their looks or the family they were born into. I could have gone on another adventure. brought you along this time. Found our paradise. I'm pretty sure the only way you're getting on a longship is as a captive to the Danes. Remember what I said about dreams? Like 3 seconds ago? Shove that silly realism into a box and lock it up. You can dream whatever sort of crazy, outrageous nonsense you... Emion? Don't worry. God. Okay, so back to story time. After I escaped from the Danes, I crossed paths with this incredible bard. This one's gonna blow your mind, I'm sure. I didn't tell him not to push himself. He knew his own condition far better than me. I didn't have to tell him continuing was a bad idea. My role was to be quiet and listen. Emion then sung for me a song he supposedly learned from the bard. I could sing way better than this back then, he said with a strained laugh before beginning the raspy ballad. Every note melted into a sort of indistinct flat buzz, but it was still somewhat pleasant to listen to. Perhaps because I could imagine what his voice may have sounded like in its prime. A bright, optimistic, unwavering, powerful voice. All the more enchanting because it existed only in my imagination. As I listened to him sing, so much that I'd kept sealed away slowly crept back to the surface. I felt like I was being whisked away into a far distant world, where the tales of his exploits and the bard's song. With Emion, his hand held out, waiting to take mine. The words "let's set off to a new world, buddy" on his lips. But his time on this earth was drawing to a close. Those fantasies fated to fade into nothing.
You aren't seriously going to make friends with him, are you? I thought you were better than that. Or do you think you'll get something out of this? Well, you're sorely mistaken. You've forgotten what you truly are, and gotten it into your head you can be equals with him. Your heart brims with blight. Yet here you are, grasping at companionship, knowing full well it's but a fleeting illusion. What do you have to gain from forging a friendship with him? Already tired of me, are you, my dear? Very well, I shall take my leave. Despite what they may say, I am a very kind-hearted girl. To those whose fates are sealed, that is. I pray you're blessed with wonderful dreams tonight.
That night, I had a dream. I have no idea how long these episodes are, so I'm afraid I have to end it here for today. Very, very interesting that we're getting this completely no part of the story here, or, well, of Michelle's story. Did not expect that. I thought we would maybe get some more extra on the characters that were present in A Requiem for Innocence, but not Michelle. Like, I'm not complaining, like, far from it. I'm glad we're getting some more of him. But yeah, very surprising. And again, no idea how long this is gonna be, because I initially, like from what I saw other people's playtime and calculating like that it's of course going to take me longer because I read everything out loud. Plus, what someone has said to me was that it's about half at what the first game was, but we're only at like a quarter, or we were with the main game, so maybe these sub-episodes are quite long. I don't know. And I mean, you already said that Emion is going to die very soon, like 5 times, so I don't know. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'd appreciate to hear thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time, bye bye!